Welcome, everyone. Today, we're unpacking a really critical situation sitting right at the intersection of cybersecurity and modern education. We're bringing you a full explainer on that massive data breach that literally sent shockwaves through school districts all around the globe. Look, if you're a student, a parent, or an educator, this directly affects the digital infrastructure you rely on every single day. So, we're going to look strictly at the facts, lay out exactly what happened, and, cut right through the confusion. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive into this with a number that is truly staggering, 275 million. Yeah, you heard that right. This isn't just some random statistic. It's the estimated number of individuals, we're talking students, teachers, parents worldwide, potentially affected by this breach. When a number gets that massive, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around, right? I mean, it really highlights the sheer, unprecedented scale of this digital intrusion. We're dealing with a truly global event that touched countless local communities.
To unpack all this, here's our roadmap for today. First up, the Canvas data breach itself. Second, the group responsible, ShinyHunters. Third, what data was actually stolen. And fourth, actionable steps on how to protect your personal info.
All right, Section 1, the Canvas data breach, a worldwide classroom compromised. Let's look at why this is causing such a massive disruption across the whole educational landscape. So the target was Canvas. Think of Canvas as the digital backbone for roughly 9,000 educational institutions worldwide. It's literally where coursework, grades, and vital communications live. And because it's so central to day-to-day school operations, it naturally holds a vast amount of personal information.
Now, according to its parent company, Instructure, the system was vulnerable during a very specific 5-day window. As you can see, the breach opened on April 25th and then closed on April 30th. It was during those 5 days that an unauthorized party managed to infiltrate the system.
And the human impact? It was immediate. One impacted student actually summed it up perfectly, saying, "I feel a little unsafe. I feel like my privacy is being breached for no reason." That quote just totally encapsulates the anxiety and the feeling of violation a community goes through when their digital safe space is suddenly, broken into.
Moving right along to Section 2. Who are ShinyHunters, the culprits behind the hack? So, who exactly broke in?
Well, multiple tech media outlets are reporting that a known criminal hacker group calling themselves ShinyHunters claimed responsibility for the attack right on their website. And their motive? It appears to be entirely financial. They're claiming to have stolen millions of pieces of data and are threatening to release this private info to the public or dump it on the dark web if a ransom isn't paid.
And the scope of their claims is just incredible. They targeted those 9,000 institutions and 275 million individuals, sure, but they also claim to have compromised several billion private messages. What's fascinating, and frankly terrifying, about a hack of this magnitude is how it cascades. It didn't just affect schools in places like North Carolina or Utah, it spread like wildfire globally, reaching all the way to Australia to impact a Queensland online platform called QLearn, which is actually powered by Canvas. This was a truly borderless cyber attack.
Which brings us to another highly relatable quote from a student. "I feel like maybe my data could be leaked in many different ways." I mean, that's the core anxiety right there, isn't it? When we hear the words data breach, our minds immediately jump to the absolute worst-case scenarios. Identity theft, drained bank accounts, ruined credit, the whole shebang. So let's address that directly.
That brings us to Section 3, what data was stolen, separating fact from fear. Let's look precisely at what the hackers actually got their hands on, and, more importantly, what they didn't.
So the crucial point here is the contrast between what was taken and what wasn't. Yes, personal identifying information was compromised. We're talking names, emails, student IDs, school locations, and those user messages between students, teachers, and parents. However, and this is a big however, Instructure states there's absolutely no evidence that passwords, dates of birth, financial information, or government identifiers like social security numbers were taken. Those highly sensitive data points appear entirely safe.
And that fact changes the complexion of this whole event significantly. Katie Chalice, the director of privacy at the Utah State Board of Education, hit the nail on the head. The risk of identity fraud as a result of this breach is probably lower than it would be in some other data breaches that we've seen. Because those financial details and government IDs remain secure, the immediate threat of total identity theft is drastically reduced. But that definitely doesn't mean we just sit back and do nothing.
Which leads us straight into Section 4, protecting your personal info. Actionable steps for safety. Now that we know exactly what data is out there, here's what you need to do about it.
Look, if you or your student uses Canvas, tech experts recommend 3 immediate steps. Step 1, change your password. Even though passwords weren't reported stolen, it is absolutely the #1 best practice after any breach.
Step 2, turn on multi-factor authentication, or MFA, wherever it's possible. It just adds a critical second layer of security beyond just a password. And Step 3, stay on high alert for phishing scams. Because names and emails were stolen, you've got to be incredibly suspicious of any unexpected emails or messages asking for further personal information. The hackers now have the contact details needed to attempt these really targeted scams.
It's also super important to remember that this situation is still developing. Authorities and educational institutions across the globe are actively investigating the full scope of the incident. Under various state laws and institutional policies, parents and students will be officially notified by their specific school districts in the coming weeks, just as soon as more concrete information is verified by Canvas's parent company.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, from the incredible scale of those 275 million affected users to the specific steps you can take today to lock down your accounts. But as the dust settles on the Canvas data breach, it leaves us with a lingering, truly vital thought to ponder. Are our digital classrooms truly secure? As education continues to rely so heavily on global, interconnected platforms, ensuring the absolute privacy of our students and teachers has literally never been more urgent. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Stay vigilant out there and definitely go keep those passwords updated.